Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
Hey, good Monday morning to you. Welcome to the EST Hangout, presented by Two Hoots Hard Ice Tea, a Boulder Real Brew Tea. Don't just give a hoot, give two. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, Zachticum with here. I'm going to just try to fix this camera a little bit.
Fix it, Matthew.
Well, I just want to get it a little tighter for the zoom, but it's not like a nice smooth zoom. There we go.
Oh, you like your zoom, but not mine.
Oh!
No, I said, well, because do we want the empty chair in the shot?
No.
Your zoom was really random on the oil stream. You're just zooming in on things. I'm trying to make sure that trying to make sure that we don't have just an empty chair on the screen. We're live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, as well as those watching on YouTube. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, Zachticum with you here on this Monday. Lots to get to today on the show. We will get to the disaster that was Copa America final.
We'll
get to that later because that was, we can't not do that today, but we're gonna have to look, I think, very closely at a certain game that took place in Edmonton last night at Commonwealth Stadium. But before we dive into the football, you, Zach, and Trev, you were in the tailgates with the EST spot.
Yeah, it was bumping.
Things?
Things were great. Like, we got there right away at 2 o'clock, 3 hours before kickoff. Got set up, banners and all. We were giving away chips, water, Cool Bet bottle openers, and everything. It was great. Yeah, it was fantastic.
We're not calling you Zach. Your new nickname is Rico Suave.
Ooh.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Ooh. I like it. You don't want to tell the story on the air, but this man has some moves, and I didn't know that he could pull it off. Well done, brother. Well done.
Thank you. Yeah, it's it just came to me. I never would have done it. Never would have thought it. All thanks to Cool Bet.
Yeah, get some digits.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, actually, I got to give thanks to Haas with Coolbet because we hit on one of his bets for the soccer this weekend. I got to text him after.
Let's go.
It looks like a great time at that tailgate yesterday. Like Chris Edwards, who's how do you miss it? It's 3 hours. It goes for 3 hours, dude.
Okay, I was leaving and then I met up. Can I tell the story or do you want to talk?
Go for it.
Okay, really quickly.
Well, then I'll get into the other part after. I'm just intrigued how you said I missed it and it's 3 hours long.
Okay, let me explain. So I met up with Larry Ring, who's a nasty, and he was in town, and then we're going to meet up with DVD, but DVD's like, hang on, I have to go pick up my nephew who wants to go to the game. And so that was at 3. So I thought I'd have plenty of time to get to the tailgate, see the boys, and mingle and stuff like that. And then so I was like, all right, Larry, let's go grab a quick bite and we'll wait for DVD. DVD didn't meet up with us till about 4:15. By the time we got on the train, got to the stadium, it was like 4:40, and I'm like, tailgate's shutting down. I told him I want to go, but and everything I saw looked pretty good. So that's shame on me.
That's why you just bolt. You just say DVD when it's taking too long.
Yeah, but I was with Larry.
And you tell him to come.
Yeah, I know.
You go, Larry,
we went and had
let's
a bite.
go to the tailgate. We'll meet DVD there. You text DVD and say, dude, you're running late. We'll see you at the tailgate.
I didn't do that.
No, clearly. You missed out.
You know,
I missed out too.
I'm working the next one, but I'm going to come visit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to come visit. I'm usually there. I'm there very early, so.
Yeah. LT was down there. Dave Jameson made a stop by. Even Dusty made an appearance there.
Don't guilt me like that. I already feel bad.
No, it's okay. You got next time. That's okay. 2 weeks from now. On the 28th.
Yeah.
Or I guess 13 days from now.
Correct.
28th. It'll be bumping. The first tailgate, because of the weather, though, like there wasn't many.
Well, there's 2 tailgates in a row that were rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the ones that we were there for, just the last 2, I think. Like the one yesterday and then last month or whatever on the 14th of June. But it was very bad. Like the clouds were coming in and stuff.
There was a tornado warning outside of the city.
That was insane. The Montreal one. I'm walking up to the stadium. I'm like, I don't know if we're going to be playing here today. And then they go through warm up and then just clear skies the whole time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you guys were apparently yelling at me.
Yes, we were. Yeah, we were cheering you on.
Thanks,
you were cheerleaders.
You chose not to turn around and look at them.
I can't hear anything. Those earbuds are so good. They're like noise canceling.
We could get a hold of Rashog and he'll turn around.
Yeah, because he loves attention and he only puts it in one ear.
Did you?
Me?
Sure. Well, no, it's just the boys are trying to call you and you didn't look, and I don't know.
That hurt. That hurt more than you not showing up yesterday.
Chris Edwards, who's a producer with TSN, I know he tweeted, because I think Dusty retweeted it. He was in the tailgate walking around, and he said that the Elks tailgate might be the best in the Canadian Football League now.
They've done a great job. Jerry Haraxi, Spirit of Edmonton. We need to get Jerry on here at one point.
Yeah, I know. I should got to reach out and get him back on again. We had him on last fall. We didn't get him on again. He's just a good dude.
He's a great dude, organizes things. The Spirit's celebrating its 50th year, and things aren't as rosy as people might think from the outside with Spirit. That's something that I think I'll leave to Jerry to talk about if he wants to, but that is a vibe. You're right, Zachticum. If you were just like dipping your toe into the CFL, are enjoying it, and you're giving stuff out, you're not even getting crushed and drinking and having a good time like people on their weekends. I know maybe you get a little bit of sluice juice or a beverage to get you nice and loose, but it is honestly, they've done a fantastic job with it. Seriously, and nobody complains about the tailgate because they've done a great job with it. They have good things that they're growing, and I even like the marketing yesterday with the Dino Day. I thought that was fantastic. Yeah. Absolutely tremendous. So if people are knocking it, it is silly, but guess what? There was a lot of kids there last night. A lot. And they had fun, and they got stuff. They took pictures with dinosaurs. They saw silly T-Rexes dancing. Like, they saw them racing around. Like, they had a good time. They're going to remember, I went to the football game, and that was super fun. What happened at the game that night? Did the Elks win or lose? They don't know. They don't know. It was a devastating, crappy loss, but the kids don't know. They got to go to the game. And it's like what's happening with Riverhawks and Stingers. It's people like going to those games.
But and this is where there's a difference, and I know Dusty pointed out a little bit too. The people that are ripping Dino Days, if this was a Riverhawks game or a Stingers game, they'd be getting just praise.
He's 100% correct on that.
But if the Elks, they don't get praise for doing promotions, because for the Elks, for good and for bad, I think there's a both to this. The result matters more than anything else.
You're right.
And it's not the same case with the Riverhawks. It's not the same case with the Stingers. But for the Elks, it starts immediately with you got to win, wins and losses.
Yeah.
But as a franchise, they got to do things that, if you're not winning, you got to find ways to entertain and get people in.
Yep.
And they're trying that. And for the business side, I'll give them all the credit in the world for doing different things. Harax also just text me, ready to go whenever you have time for me.
Good.
LOL. Yeah, Jerry, I'll be in touch. Don't worry. After the show, I'll get back to you at some point today to try to plan something then. But yeah, like the tailgate just looks like. Did you get to wander it at all? Or
not too much. No, I was working very hard yesterday. Trev was the accessory piece yesterday. He said I was in my element.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I was because of my street teaming experience.
You wanted to show it?
Yeah, I was like I guess I was a Jedi Master almost, trying to teach him what to do. And then I was just talking like, oh, listen to Edmonton Sports Talk. Oh, Nielsen and LT, they're still on air. They're on the airwaves, all online, and the whole spiel. You guys, yeah. And it was funny. A couple people came up and I knew they knew Edmonton Sports Talk, and I tried to give them the spiel just as a fake jest kind of thing. Do you know what Edmonton Sports Talk is? And they're like clearly wearing the hat or something like that, just for fun.
It's just VR Montana.
That's the name I was thinking of it too.
Zach, tell me more.
And I've seen you at many Hudsons, but thanks for letting me know.
Yes, I appreciate this.
Just get the extra rep in. But no, a bunch of the nasties came down and stuff too, and I'm genuinely surprised how it's buzzing down there when a team is 0-4.
Yep. Because it's a party. That's all people want, just a good time.
A good time.
And the tailgate gives you that.
Yep.
And
you
Tall
get to
Boys
go
were
meet
great
with people.
too.
Tall Boys playing, yeah.
Fantastic.
Did you go get any food?
I think it was Dave came by. He gave some food to us. So he had some pork rib or whatever. I don't know. I had a little nib.
I forgot he told us. He told us about
good.
it. Dave came in for a prize because he's in the Cordy clan. And
that's right.
I got him because he didn't want to tell me what it was, because he's like, you got to come to tailgate. I was like, I can't come to tailgate. Like, it's impossible. And I forgot what he said they were. It was like pig wings or something like that.
Yeah, that's what he called them. Yeah. Oh, so good.
And it sounded delicious.
Now I'm getting hungry.
Thank you, Dave.
How was the surf and turf?
Well, I was at Central Casino Sports Bar and Lounge, and I had the surf and turf, and it was great. It was delicious.
Did it live up to expectations?
The shrimp, steak, salad, a little bit of garlic bread. It's $11.99.
That's a great deal.
I was there early, watched the second half of the Euro final between Spain and England as it went into all of it, and I really enjoyed it. It was a nice way to get set for the game. I've been hyping this up. I've been waiting for the surf and turf, and finally I had it, and it was delicious.
And that's on Sundays?
That's the Sundays.
Just Sundays.
So in 2 weeks, because the daily spice, different ones. Monday is the loaded burger. Thursday's smoked brisket cheesesteak. Friday's quesadilla. Saturday is prime rib sandwich, which is delicious too. I think they're working on the AC above us. I don't know if you heard those feet.
Toasty in here today.
And Sunday is surf and turf. I forgot what Tuesday and Wednesday are.
Well, those sound like all hits, though. Like
the food there is really good,
and it's priced well, so well.
Yeah.
Like again, $11.99 for some shrimp and steak with a salad or whatever. It's actually whatever side you want. I went with the salad and
I go
delicious.
It fueled you up for a feisty post game show.
Well, I did that for pregame.
I know, but you were ready for the post game.
It was, and we'll get to the game. Shortly here. But you just walked around. How is the experience in the stadium, at least right now, for the team? Because the tailgate is awesome. Tailgate is great. We're talking about that. You can go find, thanks to William Huff for putting up the take your selfie wall with Lieutenant Eric and Dusty. That's in the Legends Club on the east side.
And I was in the Jackie Parker room. I went and saw the Jackie Parker room. They've touched it up a little bit, given it some love, which is good. And that's the other thing. My parents were there too. And that was the first game this year I got to go and just be a fan, which was great. I saw some nasty. Shout out to everybody I saw last night that was chirping. And then I had people texting me. They're like, I saw a Gazzola jersey. And I'm like, one of one. That was Reno. And I think, and what did they announce the crowd at? 18
something. 18 and change.
Okay. I'll give them 18. For the people that were there, and it was nice to see the younger fans, let's call them, or new generation of fans. I appreciate that. And then the ones that have been long serving and have been there forever were treated to an absolute disaster of a game. But the vibe outside of that was good.
Okay, it was an entertaining football game. If you're an outsider,
it was. But
if you don't have interest in either two teams, entertaining football game as well. You guys just wandered around the concourse.
Yeah, we walked around.
You did the Lieutenant Eric special.
Oh yeah, just walking around, and then we'd sit at one of the end zones right near the big scoreboard and put our arms up on the
railing.
Metal railing and stuff, and just
at
take
CW's
laps
pub?
around.
Was it the CW's
bar?
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, and it was like that's a perfect spot to watch it from. I mean, sitting in the seats is great, but I don't know, I like moving around kind of if the game gets excited and stuff.
That used to be like a vibe. It'd be like 3 or 4 people deep. They'd be
it'd be the whole thing.
Drinks. Yeah, it'd be packed.
I remember walking with my dad. We'd go meet with some of his buddies or something at a game when I was a kid, and it's like you have to hold Dad's hand because we're walking through this crowd and you get lost, you're done.
Yes,
like that was the spot.
Legit.
Well, let's get to the game.
Sure.
Let's do it. It's Ranch Hangout headlines brought to you by the Ranch Golf and Country Club, who offer premier conditions, top-notch service, unmatched value. If you're looking to golf this golf season, it is the Ranch you're going to want to golf at. RanchGolf.com to book your tee time. If you've already been to the Ranch, you know that you're going to want to go back to the Ranch with how great the conditions are out there. So the Edmonton Elks, they find another new way to lose a football game. They lose on the field goal. That's not new. But how Ottawa got in position for that was a brand new thing, as Boris Beatty Jay on the post-game show yesterday, pretty fired up against Boris Beatty because of that kick. I got to sneeze. One moment.
Bless
pretty rare.
Bless you.
It's very well. I don't have a cough button or a sneeze button. Who wants to start before I jump in or something on this team?
Where do I want? Okay, things were going like we were all talking going into this week, especially after an extended bye week, that this game they have to win. They're going to win. They can go back to back against the Redblacks. They can get their path to 500 going, and I think all of us said that with sincerity and believed it. And I did. I know I did, Maddie. I feel like you did as well, as we talked about yesterday's game leading up to it. And things were going good. Well, they were up. They were up in... it
was 15-3.
It was 15-3. Everything's looking okay. It's getting late in the second quarter. And I'm like, okay, they're in a good spot. You know what? Offense could use a little more touches on the ground for Kevin Brown. But they're doing all right. Holding their own. And then they have the fumble. And then the Redblacks score that late touchdown. And my mom's like, what the hell happened? And I'm like, that is trouble because now Ottawa has hope and they've got life. So instead of marching down the field, adding to the lead going into the half, it's tight. It was, what, a 3-point game going into halftime?
15-13, I think, actually.
Yeah.
I think it was a
2-point game. There you go.
I think it was 15-13.
And then the offense starts sputtering a bit in the third quarter. There was, at one point, BD missed a field goal, and I was like, what the hell just happened? And the wheels fell off in the second half. And then the fact that they came back with the 2 late touchdowns to tie it, Larry goes, AM Nasty Larry goes, hey, Tom, there's 8 seconds left. Do you think I have time to go back to the restroom really quickly and come back for overtime? And I was like, I'm like, Ottawa's got a chance. They get a possession here, but you should be okay. There's a TV timeout. And he's like, okay. He's like, but you don't think the Eskimos can blow, the Elks can blow this? And I was like, well, they technically could. Then BD kicks it out on the kickoff. And then that huge, what was it, a 35-yard gain?
29 yards.
29-yard gain. And they slice and dice through the defense again. And they're in field goal range. And my mom's like, what if this guy misses it? I'm like, Mom, Lewis Ward doesn't miss field goals.
Well, and the thing is, he didn't even have to, he could have missed the extra. The single would have got it for you.
Exactly.
Right? Like they were in that position where it was just needed that 1 point.
Yeah. And that was game. And Larry just looked at me and he's like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah, that's a new one. That's a new one. So you basically, you're in cruise control. You're doing great. First half's looking good. You fumble it. Ottawa comes back, takes the momentum away from you. That's a buzzkill. Then in the second half, you start out, you're sputtering a bit, and then the wheels just fall off. You can't get a stop from your defense. They slice and dice through you. Then you give yourself some hope, going through the air exclusively pretty much, and then you blow it by A, a stupid kickoff penalty, and B, one play that just carves your secondary, and then you lose. Like that was just the only loss I've seen worse at Commonwealth in the regular season than that was the one where Milt Stiegel scored the 100 and whatever yard touchdown.
I remember that game.
That was the same thing.
My dad and I just turned around, walked away before he got into the end zone. I don't think a word was said as we walked to the car.
He was gone by the 50-yard line.
It was, you just knew.
They blitzed. For whatever reason, Chocho blitzed. It was so stupid. And that was,
this is right up there.
I think this is it is up there because this was supposed to be the feel good, let's get some hope going game and start to turn this damn thing around after how bad it's been for the last 4 years. And they give themselves a spark. And then they also seconds later put out their own spark and basically shoot themselves, for lack of a better term. I think, to me, the way they lost it, the circumstances, is almost as bad and as embarrassing as that loss in 2006 when Milt Stiegel ran.
06?
I think that was 06.
Oh, jeez.
I remember because the Eskimos at the time, they scored a touchdown to tie it, right? And you're like, all right, here we go. People were still standing and cheering. The damn fire truck was throwing little footballs.
Was it tie or to win?
One or the other.
I'm just trying to think. I think they had the win locked
something
up.
Like that,
and they had to march the entire field with no time left.
Yeah, and people are still cheering and happy. And then it's like last play of the game. Why aren't they playing prevent? Why did they just blitz? Milt Stiegel's he's gone. And it was just like
That's game.
It was unbelievable.
We'll show you the video of it after, Zach.
Kick in the junk. And I felt like last night was very similar to that. And I mean, the way Milt Stiegel did it and the Bombers did it back in 06, I don't think you can really, that's tough to beat. But this one, with how creative Edmonton was in losing, was similar.
That's a tough loss. That one back in 06, if you're comparing it to that. It was
insane.
And just the loss yesterday was devastating. Like, all the energy was just sapped out of the building. Like, everyone was just walking like head down. Nobody enjoyed the loss. I mean, you're there to watch your team win, but it comes down to that one play. The kicks flubbed, and then the defense has to come up. They don't, and it's clear as day that they're just going to go for the field goal, end it right there with however many 4 seconds or whatever left they had in the fourth quarter. And then in the first half, as you said, like the offense was really rolling. It seemed like they were getting things done, moving up the field. They were able to get a couple scores, one score in the first quarter and then one in the second, and then they fell apart, and then the Elks couldn't really claw back, and then they tie the game, and it looks like it most likely might go to overtime.
Should have
gone to overtime.
There was 8 seconds left.
And I was prepared
8
for it.
seconds.
All you have to do is keep Ottawa deep in their territory, within like their 30. And Ottawa's taking a knee. Ottawa's not attempting anything.
No.
They're taking a knee because it's 8 seconds. You're going overtime.
But you kick it out of bounds.
And you give them immediate field position where they could make that play. And then also, you just need one defensive play there.
Yeah.
Because if you get an incompletion on that play, all Ottawa's going to do on the next play is they might take a knee. They might try for the Hail Mary.
Right.
Or they might try to punt it for the Rouge potentially. But like you're in a position where unless you take a stupid offensive or defensive pass interference penalty, or you allow a miraculous Hail Mary, which I guess with this team would be out of the question, you're going over them. Ottawa's taking a knee though.
Right.
Like, you're at that point and you're going to overtime.
And you have a chance.
You have it wasn't like there was 40 seconds left and you're like, well, there's a little too much time for Ottawa.
Yeah.
There was 8. Where as long as you don't kick it out of bounds, you are in overtime, and you have the momentum going into overtime.
The crowd was actually, all 18,000 that stayed were very excited to see what this team could do in overtime.
We had, to your story of Larry, we had a guy at Century. He went to the washroom. He came back, and because before he went to the washroom, he said it's overtime. Like everyone gets a possession. It's like, yeah, one possession each. So he goes to the washroom, comes back. He sees Ottawa make the kick. He goes, don't the Elks get the ball here? And me and Jay are like, oh no, this isn't overtime yet, dude. They managed to get into field goal range in regulation. So, no, they blew it. They blew this one.
Honestly, I looked away for a second, and I thought it was in overtime. And then Eric was like, man, it's the fourth. There's still time. I'm like, what? Like, I was about to be like Larry and go to the bathroom. And I was just like, hold on now. What? Because I've never seen anything like that before.
People are asking me, they're like, doesn't the kicker know? I'm like, yes, he's been in the league for 10 years.
Okay, I'll start with special teams here.
Go, Matty. Go, Matty. You're a hot tamale today. Let's go.
So Boris Beatty, let's like. I was one of those people that was hard on Dean Faithful. I felt that the Edmonton Elks needed to get an upgrade in kicking. They go out and get Boris Beatty.
They did need an upgrade.
Where there was a concern for me a little bit with Beatty because he was coming off a career. Last year, he was outstanding. He was clutch. But if you actually looked at his history prior, he was known for misses in key moments.
Yeah.
But okay, they go bring in Boris Beatty and they go bring in Javon Leake. Well, Boris Beatty missed the kick against Saskatchewan that had a chance to, I think, tie it or maybe give the Elks a 1-point lead. I think it was a tie.
Yeah, it was in the
42, 48 yard or something like that. Missed it. Wasn't even close.
It was wide right and short.
It was awful kick.
Yes, I remember watching that one. I was like,
yesterday, Drew Brown throws an awful interception. The offense does nothing, but they're in field goal range to start the fourth quarter, and he misses a field goal. And then you cost the team the game and ultimately end with the squib kick out of bounds. Like, how it goes out of bounds, you are a veteran in this. Like, look, you don't even have to be a veteran in this league. Football in general, you can't kick it out of bounds.
That's a no-no.
Like, that's the thing. You can't put... And
he's going like this. That's on me. That's on me. Yeah, it is.
Of course. Who else is it going to be on, dude?
That was terrible.
Like, it's one of those things, too. Like, you have a wider field in the CFL than the NFL. Like, this isn't... It's even worse in the Canadian Football League than in the NFL. How that even gets close to the end zone to be... or to the sideline for the penalty, it's a disaster. And honestly, if they cut him this week, I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't be sitting there and saying we're going to just bring him Dean Faithful. You might as well have saved money and kept Dean Faithful at this point,
man.
Because Beatty's not doing.
Well, they got rid of Sergio Castillo because they didn't want to pay him.
Well, and they also needed a global player last year. That was the issue.
Oh my God!
The issue last year was they screwed up and they didn't take into account you need to play a global player, so they had to go with Dean Faithful. And that was the thing. But like,
what was he? 70% last year. He kicked. Listen,
he won the game against Calgary.
He did. Like
in the end, you might as well have just stuck with Dean Faithful at this point.
And he's a very cheerful and pleasant guy.
And then Javon Leake, while his kick returning has been great for this team, he has 2 major fumbles this season against Saskatchewan. The turning point of that game was his fumble deep in Elks territory, and this is Javon Leake on offense. That's where he's hurting this team. And then yesterday he had another fumble. And Javon Leake, he had it in preseason, couldn't control the football. There was a few other times this season where on returns he's dropped the ball, but he's recovered it. But Javon Leake can't hold on to this football, and it is dearly hurting this football team. And two big players that were brought in to help elevate the special teams of the Edmonton Elks are actually reasons why this team is hurting and losing football games right now.
Correct.
And it's embarrassing.
Correct.
Hold on to the damn football. Keep the football in bounds. Those are the two things for you two. Like, what are they doing here? And that goes to, like, I heard from one person that when it came to the Elks, during training camp, when it came to Javon Leake, they realized early that his catching was an issue. His holding on control was an issue. Did you not talk to anyone? Did you not know any other people around the Canadian Football League? Do you not have any connections that you could have figured this out sooner?
There's an abundance of film available. Every game is on a national broadcast.
Yeah, even in practices, though, or something, you don't know anyone. Chris Jones came from Toronto for a little bit.
It's a small league.
It's a very small league. You couldn't get the info from that or something?
Everybody knows. There are very few secrets in the CFL. Good point.
So right now, Beatty and Leak hurting this football team.
And they're supposed to,
mightily.
Crazy, man.
Like, Jay was furious with Beatty yesterday to start that post-game show. Furious.
Good. It was a
Beatty.
feisty postgame.
I don't know how you
enjoyed
go
it thoroughly.
I don't know how you go go to your teammates after that one. If you're Beatty.
But
That's rough.
They put him on the Jumbotron, and he's like, that's on me, boys. Yes, it is. You just screwed the team. Don't get me wrong. The other guys, Javon Leake being one of them, put the team into terrible positions, but the offense...
But it was overtime.
McLeod Bethel-Thompson and the offense bailed them out. Bailed out the defense, bailed out special teams. And then they poop all over it. Everything that the offense did to resuscitate that game, they just dump all over it and kill the game. It's making me mad going over it again.
I'm actually getting more mad than I think I was on postgame last night.
In stadium, I think I was just more blown away. And I had people asking me questions, and I was talking to people. I'm like, they should be okay. Yes, they should be going over. Yes, Larry, you have time to go to the bathroom. There's a TV timeout coming up. And my mom's like, what just happened? And I was like, oh my God. She's like, what? Doesn't he know better? I'm like, yep. He's been in the... Why did he kick it out? I don't know, Mom. I don't know. He's supposed to be a good kicker. And I'm getting more frustrated the more I talk. I actually enjoyed watching the post-game show, and I was getting in the nasty chat.
You were jumping in
there.
I
needed to, because I felt like I had some things that needed to be said, and now I'm getting more frustrated the more I think about it, even though I'm supposed to be an impartial observer. But that was insane. Insane how they lost that game.
And Trev was in awe. Like, he saw that final play happen, and then the 25 or 29-yard cut, like, all the way up the offense, just digging right there, putting it in field goal position, and then went through the uprights, and it was just, wow. Like, Trev had no words after that. He was just sitting there, and he's like, how can a team lose? Like, how do you do that? How do you fall apart?
You fresh youngins. You fresh youngins.
Now what happens, though? Is Chris Jones gone?
Not this week.
Okay.
They play on Friday.
I'll go back to that. We'll come back to the game after, because that question needs to be talked about. If it was me, if I was in charge, he would have been let go today. He would have been let go last night.
Yeah, you were saying
It would have
that last
been.
night.
It would have been. If I'm Rick Lawlisher yesterday, I'm pulling Chris Jones in the office and I'm going, "Thanks, we appreciate your service. Clear out your desk. You're done here." I went into this game going, at least at 0-4. There was, I think the record I had going into yesterday, it was a 15-4 combined, or 17-5 maybe combined record of the four teams they lost to between Saskatchewan, Toronto, Montreal, and BC.
They lost to the best teams in the
They lost to
league.
the top four teams in the Canadian Football League by far. They're the four best teams.
Yeah.
They lost by 9 combined points to BC,
2 walk-offs.
Toronto, Montreal, 2 of them being walk-offs. Statistically, they were better than last year.
Yep.
Eye test says they were better than last year. There was all of that going for them, but they were still 0-4. So it's like, okay, you're taking on Ottawa. You are home. I don't want to disrespect Ottawa fully here, but you can't say everyone is the top team in the Canadian Football League.
Ottawa is not a good team.
At some point, you got to go win a football game. And that was this game. It was, okay, who are the Elks? Are you an 0-5 football team, or are you a better than 1-4 team? You've just been unlucky this year. And to me, they showed us they're a 1-5 football team.
0-5.
0-5 football team. And you need to do something now. You need to make changes. This is year 3 of Chris Jones, and it's not getting better.
The talent is the individual talent is there.
I don't know
they went and got good players. They're making stupid mistakes.
But I will say this: I don't know if they are actually there. I don't know if Chris Jones actually has gotten good players.
I think Lucius Purifoy can be a great player.
Sure,
but he makes bad mistakes.
I think that secondary has been eaten.
It's getting shredded.
The defensive line gets no pressure.
Offensive line can't protect.
Yesterday, they did a fantastic job of stopping the run. Raquel Armstead has come in as a really good running back. I will give the front seven credit for that part of it. But not getting the pressure. They got no sacks yesterday. And you know, you look at the three receivers for the Redblacks, all at over 100 yards yesterday.
Yeah.
Here were each of their longest...
Dominic Grimes had a feast yesterday.
Longest receptions for the three players. Longest receptions in the game. Dominic Grimes had a 66-yard catch.
Yep.
Justin Hardy had a 68-yard catch.
That was beautiful, too.
Pimpleton had a 70-yard catch.
Yep.
You gave 3 catches over 66-plus yards.
Yep.
You should... One in a game is too much of that big play. 3 different players all got over a 60-yard catch. That's embarrassing. And then you get the 29-yard reception. Lastly, you need the defense to just make one stop, and they give up 29 yards down the middle.
Up the middle,
just right there. So I sit there and I look at the defense and I go, okay, maybe Jason Travers isn't calling a great defense, but also the players aren't there. And Chris Jones, the general manager, has failed building a defense in Edmonton. He's been a great defensive mind for a number of years in the Canadian Football League, but as a general manager, he has not done a good enough job through 3 seasons in charge of this team building a defense. That hasn't even come close to a Chris Jones defense. So he's failed on that. The guys he's brought in on special teams, while yes, we like the moves, Chris Jones ultimately, though, is the football guy. And they aren't working. And offensively, I will get to the offense a bit later here, but they're not winning football games with the offense. And Eugene Lewis is very frustrated right now with this team because he's not getting the football. And, look, yesterday they start throwing to him in the fourth quarter, and what happens?
He
starts making catches, they get clutch plays, and they're putting up points. Yeah, maybe target your top receiver a little bit more.
He's the best receiver in the league.
So for Chris Jones, like that to me is enough's enough. You have to make that change. To Tommy saying it's a short week, I wonder if that plays into this.
I feel like it probably does.
You play Friday, next game is on a Sunday. You get a little bit more time. So I wonder if there's going to be a press conference on Saturday that no matter what happens on Friday. But then the other part to this is ownership part of this. And is Rick Lawlisher and the board just saying we're just going to wait till new ownership takes over? But it's I understand that.
Sounds like it's ready.
But now you got to get it announced and approved by the CFL, and I'm fine with it. But at some point, the fans just need it. You have to just go. Yeah. It doesn't matter anymore. The fans need something served to them. They were 0-9 last year. They're 0-5 now this year. This was supposed to be a win season. Yep. Chris Jones came in to win, and they're 0-5. And 2-19 at home.
Oh.
I think under Chris Jones
you had the breakdown last night. You put it after the show
of Chris Jones
X,
with the quarterbacks,
and it was like 5 wins with Ford.
41 games under Chris Jones since he's come back to the Edmonton Elks. 0 wins combined by Nick Arbuckle, Jared Dagey, McLeod Bethel Thompson. 3 were won by Taylor Cornelius. 5 by Trey Ford. 8 total wins
in 41 games.
And 5 were by a quarterback that's actually employed by the team still currently. And just not giving him the chance.
Who has not even seen a snap this entire season.
No.
So is it you try Trey Ford next week? Or
well, there was a chant for him yesterday, and that one was louder than the one against Montreal. It was coming from the east side. It made its way over to the west side. 18,000 strong, a good chunk of... I'd say at least half of the crowd was yelling, "We want Ford." It lasted like 30 seconds. But
Chris Jones isn't doing it. If Chris Jones is employed, Trey Ford's not playing. To say that right now, it's not happening. But I honestly feel like maybe he should.
He might do it throw his hands up, be like, "You want him? Fine, take him." And then
he's too arrogant. And,
you think he would?
No, because he would have.
If he knows the writing's on the wall,
then he'll stick with his guy. I think he'll just stick with his guy. Otherwise, why not have done it already? I will like. Here's what I'll say about McLeod Bethel Thompson. He hasn't been the reason the Elks are fully 0-5. No. He's had some bad moments. Yesterday, the Elks didn't lose because of McLeod Bethel Thompson yesterday.
They almost...
Boris Beatty, Javon Leake are big reasons. Jarius Jackson's offensive play calling is horrendous right now. He's regressing as an offensive coordinator. There's no creativity.
There's a lot of slants.
A lot of slants. They need 10 yards. They're throwing 5.
Yeah.
They don't like throwing down the field. Like
no
Jarris
touches
Jackson,
for Brown.
Kevin Brown ran really well in the first half. He had like 6 carries.
Yep.
He had over like 30 yards or something. He was averaging a great carries. And then the second half just, nope, we're done. We don't need to give this guy the ball.
Didn't he finish with 35 yards?
Yeah, it was awful.
He got them all in the first half.
He had 8 carries.
He has 39
He had 6 in the
touches
first
this
half.
year.
He had 6 in the first half.
5 games in.
It was just ridiculous that they just stopped with the running. But again, back for MBT,
Okay.
he's brought in to win, though.
Yes.
And he's not the reason they're losing, but he hasn't been the reason they've gotten wins. And that's the issue with all this. He's being paid $400,000, and he's not like when Michael Riley took the ball in the fourth quarter throughout a season. You knew the Elks were going to go win a football game at the time. The Eskimos, MBT, like yes, he tied it yesterday.
Yes,
I'll give him that. But there's been 5 games, and he's not been able to go out there and will this team to a victory and carry his team to a victory. And the Eugene Lewis part, I'll go with, dude. That's on MBT for not targeting Eugene Lewis. Like, and I've heard like Eugene Lewis is maybe not getting open. We saw it yesterday. Eugene Lewis doesn't need to be open to make a catch.
He's
Put
got
the
hops.
ball near Eugene Lewis. He makes the play.
Yes.
And after the game, he was frustrated he's not getting the targets. And it's just no coincidence, as I've already said. He gets the ball thrown to him, and the offense starts moving, and they're driving down the field. And look, this team could be 0-5 with Trey Ford. Why are we sitting here watching an 0-5 McLeod Bethel Thompson team and the fact that a season might be lost when this could have been 0-5 with Trey Ford? And I would rather be sitting here right now going, oh, they're 0-5 with Trey Ford, and maybe there's still a quarterback there, or going, you want to know, he's not a starting quarterback in this league. And this season is going to be lost. But we know Trey Ford's not a starting quarterback in this league, and they could go on the process of now going to find a quarterback for next year. Right now, I can't say whether Trey Ford's a star quarterback in the Canadian Football League because
he's not
seeing him
playing.
play. And McLeod Bethel Thompson at this point cannot return as the quarterback of this team next year. He's on a 1-year deal.
I don't think that was ever the plan. Like, I think MBT's a hired gun.
Sure, but now it's like, well, who's the quarterback now for next year? We don't know. And if it's Trey Ford, well, we're wasting this season to get to the inevitable of Trey Ford, which should have been done this season. And where I get frustrated because myself and a bunch of other fans, this is what we saw coming. We all saw this coming for this in the offseason, the moment MBT was announced. And we were told by Chris Jones and some other people that, no, this is about winning, and they're going to go win football games. And McLeod Bethel Thompson's going to win these football games for this team. And we're all saying, are you sure about that? Because his history doesn't necessarily say that. And we're now sitting here going, we know more about football than Chris Jones. Because we were right and Chris Jones was wrong. And look, I've been good at Madden. I've done some good things. I should not be able to sit here and say I knew I was right on this then over the head coach and general manager of this football team in Chris Jones. And it wasn't even in doubt. It wasn't even in doubt that I was right in this one. That it was like
then you were steadfast in this the whole time. 5 games
into the season, and I'm able to say, yep, everything I was saying about MBT and Trey Ford, I'm right. Chris Jones is wrong. That's just shouldn't happen.
It should not. You're right.
Fans knowing more, this shouldn't happen. And yet here we are. And Chris Jones, his job was saved because of Trey Ford. And he goes away against him.
It's this ironic circle of life
and
that's
now he won't want to
now.
go to Trey Ford, and that's going to be his final undoing as well here. But also, I feel bad for Trey Ford because everyone wants him now so bad.
Yeah.
But how much more pressure is put on Trey Ford with this? If he goes out there and fails, like it's almost designed for him to now fail in a sense.
Well,
and that's devastating to me.
How much motivation does Trey Ford have now as well? Like it's.
I think there'd be a lot.
You think there's a lot? Like
a motivation? If I'm Trey Ford, whether it's Chris Jones or not, I want to go out there and show Chris Jones that he was so wrong. That's the motivation.
He has all that motivation. Like 0-5, if you step into the next game on Friday against the Redblacks, now you have your time, I guess, to shine. He's been tucked away in the shadows, sitting there, just watching his team lose.
Helmet on in the shadows. Yeah,
he went and grabbed the tablet. They showed it on TSN.
He was wearing his helmet the whole time.
Well, and me and Jay were, he went and grabbed the tablet, and we were like, is he going in? And then MBT went in.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, Zach.
No. Well, like you've been preaching this the entire time, and the fact that you're now almost right here. Like,
he is right. He's not almost right. He is right.
We're wasting the season because we could have seen what Trey Ford was. And it's not like it's so many fans saw this too.
Yes.
And that's why you're getting the chance for we want Trey Ford. One, you get the casual fans who are sitting there going, well, he brings me to the stadium. You get some of the diehard fans that go, if we're going to lose, I'd rather be entertained because at least Trey Ford's entertaining. And then you got those others going, I just want to see what Trey Ford could be. And if they're 0-5 and Trey Ford's bad, yeah, would people be upset today? Absolutely.
Of course, and they should
But
be.
there would be a little bit more positivity in the sense of those people would also be like, at least they're giving the young guy a try. This guy looked good last year. It's not working. There would be a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But you can't go there now because we haven't seen him.
And the fact he hasn't got a single snap the entire season. Like, not a game started, of course, but not even a single snap through 5 games either.
But Chris Jones will go out and tell you that Trey Ford, he asked him if you want to be part of packages, and Trey Ford said no. Chris Jones made sure to tell everyone that last week.
Chris Jones says that a lot. He tells people that. So
what kind of plays were you trying to design for him there, Chris Jones?
Strevler got reps in. If you want a guy in, you make packages for them.
Well, you could. Well, I just understand that Trey Ford might sit there and go, "I don't want to be a gimmicky Chris Strevler type."
I understand that, but I would think he'd want to play.
I would say that you probably go build a package for Trey Ford where he's actually a quarterback and he can do quarterback things.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's not you're just going to run the football. It's going to be you're going to drop back and throw it. We're going to put you in for 3-4 plays here.
Yeah.
Go out there and we're going to mess with things. But
disrupt the defense. There were a few people, and as I was watching the post game show last night, there were a few people and I did not go into the inbox, just the nasty chat, and there were a few people saying, "Oh, well, Ford doesn't have the proper touch. He can't hit his receivers. He goes off the script too much." Yes, that is a detriment to him, but to his credit, I suppose, when he does go off script, he does end up making something happen, does advance the offense. Is it frustrating to the offensive coordinator? Yep, probably. Is it frustrating to some of the receivers? I'm sure it is. Is it frustrating for some of the O-line guys? Probably. But at the end of the day, he's putting them in a better position and has done that. Maybe he can refine his game if he had an opportunity to. Maybe he can work in the rhythm.
Go and get him to improve as a quarterback. Go coach this guy.
Yeah.
But put him in games and I guess there is value in practice. But now put him in the regular season.
Yeah.
See if he can go win football games and coach him. If you're Jarius Jackson, coach Trey Ford to being a different quarterback. Get him to learn how to not just immediately run. Get him, work on his throwing mechanics and stuff so he can hit his receivers.
Yeah.
Go work on that. That's what you do as a coaching staff. Jarius Jackson I don't know if he's also the QB coach still with this team, but you have a QB coach for a reason. You have an offensive coordinator for a reason. Go coach this guy. And that's why now we're at 0-5. This was supposed to be a win season, and it's not. And so it's like, okay, so it's not the win season that you said it was going to be, and you're not developing your young quarterback. So what are we doing here? So
spinning our tires.
Absolutely. And that's where I'll go with just give me then if you want a 1A, 1B QB situation. This is where go throw Trey Ford out there on Friday. And if he loses, go back to MBT against Hamilton. I'm good with that. And if Trey Ford wins, then let him run until he loses. And once he loses, throw MBT out there. At this point, I don't care about this season in that sense.
Yeah.
Just go throw him out there in some way, shape, or form. But what you're doing right now is not working. And there's got to be some sort of change towards Friday. And it doesn't look like there will be any sort of change. I don't know what other change. It's not going to be QB, and it's clearly not going to be GM head coach. Otherwise, I think we would have heard something by now.
Correct.
So what else? It's just.
And they brought in Oakman and Moncrief on the defense. They played yesterday. I think Oakman had. Did he have a?
He had a couple tackles.
Yeah. The only sack was Anderson.
Yeah,
if I recall correctly.
Did they get credited with the sack in the
end? They announced
or did they lose a sack? I thought there was one.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anderson. Yeah, there was just the one. So
the defense is letting them down, but so are other elements of the game.
Well, the offense. I'll say this about the offense yesterday.
Yeah.
Because Jay's texted me to remind me about this because we talked about this yesterday. MBT and the Elks, they got those 2 touchdowns early in the first quarter.
Yes, things were looking good.
Was that
15-3, right?
Yeah, early second quarter, first quarter. Yeah. So they got those 2 touchdowns. They got the 2 touchdowns at the end of the game, at the end of the fourth quarter.
Yes.
They did nothing in between that, though.
That's where
they did virtually nothing in between. Here's their drive summary when it comes to that. They had a punt on a 2-and-out. They then fumbled. They got 1 first down on that drive. They punted where they only got 1 first down. They had finally a good drive where they got a field goal. They got 4 first downs on that drive. Then they punted after only 1 first down. Then they missed the field goal. That was after the interception where they weren't able to move that ball at all. They weren't able to kill Ottawa, put the nail in the coffin and get that touchdown. Yep. Boris Beatty missed the field goal, so it should have been 3 points, but they did nothing on that possession. Then they punted again after only 1 first down. Way too much of nothing there. And that's where it was MBT wasn't good enough in a sense. And Jarius Jackson's play calling was horrendous in that moment. Jay pointed out in the postgame after there was one moment he specifically pointed to where it was, I think it was 2nd and 8, and they threw a 3-yard ball or something. Like, you need 8 yards. At least throw 7. Like, have a guy running a route of 7 or something that you could be close. And then also in all of this, they almost didn't actually score the game-timing touchdown.
Yeah.
It took 3 shots.
Yeah. Yeah. And Prukop, listen, I know he's supposed to be a short yardage wizard, but that wizardry is running dry right now with this team. And it started the first game of the year.
Yeah. Well, is that just the sign of the O-line?
That's what I was about to ask.
The O-line is strong in the middle.
Yeah.
But on the outside, where they generally come to the outside.
He had to take it to the outside to score that touchdown. He kicked it outside.
The O-line just doesn't, because Kevin Brown's not getting the rushing yards either. Now, part of that is Jarius Jackson's not giving him the football. It's kind of hard to run when you're not getting the ball.
Pass me the rock.
But I think we're seeing the sign of that the O-line isn't strong enough. And
did we not talk about maybe adding to the O-line in the offseason?
That was to me, that was one of the biggest targets that they needed to go do, and they chose not to go look at that.
Sorry to interrupt, but I got to agree with you guys. The offensive line sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It does suck.
It sucks. It just sucks.
Like everything's designed for MBT to release quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he wasn't a quick release quarterback, they would be in a lot more trouble.
Yeah, but that's
like
how
a
it's
Trevor
designed.
Harris.
Yeah, anyway, I heard you guys talking about it. I was like, I have to agree. Like on the short yardage stuff, Prukop's good. Like watch him in Winnipeg behind their offensive line for that. Like,
he went.
He's automatic. He's got 5 touchdowns already this year, but their offensive line gets no push. Like, there's a reason Kevin Brown has to grind for every single yard he gets.
How many of Prukop's touchdowns of the 5 are on the second or third attempt?
It's not even on that first attempt, right?
That's a good question. I don't know what the numbers are.
Well, I know of at least 2 instances this season of those 5.
Like
right in my mind, 40% I could go.
Like, oh my, they're on the goal line, and they punch it on the 3rd try. And I'm like, what? I'm getting flashbacks to last year's home opener.
O-line sucks.
Yeah.
O-line's very frustrated. He's very upset.
But they didn't go. And then this is also where one thing I'm learning from last year is I didn't know what the reason was. But Kevin Brown started running really well. The offensive line looked a lot better when Trey Ford went in. But at the same time, Jarius Jackson was the OC last year. Right. It happened at the same time. So it was Jarius Jackson or was it Trey Ford?
Is it the element of Ford being tough to read if you're a defense? I don't know.
But I was wanting to give a lot of credit to Jarius Jackson for what happened last year. Now I can't. It's now to me it was Trey Ford. Trey Ford opened up the holes for Kevin Brown. Trey Ford opened up things because of the way he plays that while it's not always the best for the offensive line and the receivers,
you had a dual
it actually
threat.
opened things up for Kevin Brown.
You had a dual
and
threat.
It wasn't Jarius Jackson. Or Jarius Jackson is looking at calling an offense because he sees MBT and thinks he has to call a much more
pass happy.
Yeah, and
he does.
It was also a terrible play call from Jarius Jackson that right before that touchdown at one point, they called a QB draw.
Yeah.
For McLeod Bethel Thompson. Like on first down, like what the hell is that?
MBT ran for a couple of first downs, did he not? He had to scramble a couple of times.
He had 1 for 9.
Good
but
for
then
him.
It was also like you're that position. You do not run with McLeod Bethel Thompson in that moment.
Yeah.
He's not a running quarterback.
Yeah.
What a wasted play.
McLeod Bethel Thompson was brought in to help this team. That he fully understands and he wants to do everything he can to, and he's trying. But man, it ain't working.
This is the EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots Hard Ice Team Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, Zachticum with you here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio as well as those watching on YouTube. Here's a great thing I got to read now. Pat Janik's in the nasty chat. Who's the top pick the Elks are going after this year? LOL. Well, here's the thing, Pat. The Elks don't have a first-round pick this year.
They traded it.
They used it in a supplemental draft.
Right.
So there was the supplemental draft. For those that don't know about supplemental drafts, sometimes players get eligible to be selected after a draft. So they go into a draft and teams submit a draft pick they're willing to give up to get said player.
This is the giant receiver.
And whoever gives up the biggest value, they get the player. And the Elks chose to give up a first-round pick for this player this year. A giant wide receiver. They don't need a wide receiver. They don't need a Canadian wide receiver. They got Curly Gittins Jr., they got Hergy Mayala, they got Gavin Cobb.
Yeah.
This guy might not see the field this year.
Yeah, get in here.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I heard you brought it up because
You're they don't have a first-round pick.
Your
mic's, you have to unmute your mic.
Which one is it?
Just the red one on the far.
Dusty's feisty too.
That one.
Sorry, boys.
No, this is good.
I hate to interrupt. I've got other stuff to do. But I saw G-Roy yesterday.
Okay.
And so I pull him aside. It's actually when I was talking to Stoff. I left Stoff. I went to G-Roy. I was like,
But why are you wearing a suit?
Take that. Anyway, so I asked him about Oakman and Moncrief. And then I was like, so what's the deal with Zach Mathis? I think, is that his name?
Yeah, he's the giant, right?
Yeah, he's like 6'7".
Yeah.
And
Can he run?
he thinks he's a big deal.
Awesome.
Like, he said if he's available in next year's draft, he'll go first. He would have gone first overall.
Okay.
Like, so it's not like that's what I was curious about because I said, he cost you a pick next year, right? He goes, yeah. He goes, but if he was draft eligible, he would be the first pick over the overall, undeniably.
They don't need a receiver.
Well, I mean,
They don't
this
need a
guy's
receiver.
supposedly a unicorn. He's like 6'7".
He's like Megatron.
Comes from a successful program. Like,
Cool.
they're very excited about him.
Awesome.
I
I'm
can't
glad.
wait to be sitting in here in like 6 weeks and you're gonna be like, my God, this guy's worth the first pick.
Maybe
Hey.
I will do that. But you want to know what this team doesn't need is more receivers. They need offensive talent. They need defensive talent. They should have just traded they should trade him for something then or something. You've got Canadians. You've
he's
got
a stud.
Eugene Lewis. You've got Dylan Mitchell. The one thing we learned, at least from last year going into this year, they don't need receivers. That's not going to help this team. So you wasted a pick for you don't
But
have a
I mean, what do you do with picks anyway, really?
You draft an offensive lineman because that's what you need to go get.
Yeah, they should do that anyway.
But you don't have
I'm just telling you,
pick
they are
potentially.
very high on this guy.
Awesome.
Okay.
And what other players were they high
Very
on going
high.
into this season that have what have they done?
Well, I mean, they've been close in a lot of games.
They're 0-5.
They just can't
Oh, my
finish.
God.
They were high on the
Mathis
secondary.
apparently
The
is.
secondary can't get a stop.
Mathis is. I'm just saying.
That's
I just want to
great.
pop in.
Okay.
G-Roy
No,
said yesterday
sure.
he would have been the first overall pick.
Awesome.
In the
Great.
2025 draft
Awesome.
if it was like in the draft.
I'm not trusting this management core right now when it comes to judging talent.
I trust G-Roy, I think.
I want to see this receiver be a beast.
This is one of the
for a
best
long
receivers
time.
in the history of the game, telling me that this guy's the real deal.
I hope and trust that
Awesome.
he's
What
right.
else is he going to say?
Well, look, I think
He's going to sit there and be like, "You want to know something?"
But if
We
you
messed
sit here
up.
and
We just
talk
wanted
about
him.
what areas they can evaluate, I actually think they evaluate receiver very well. Hergy Mayala's been awesome.
He's been
Curly
excellent. They
Gaines
go to him
Jr.'s
all the
been
time.
great. Dylan Mitchell
That's
is in
fine.
the top 10 receiver right now. Like,
But you don't need
G-Roy
another
Simon
receiver.
knows receivers. He says this guy's a stud.
And that's fine. But the one thing, we're not sitting here saying the Elks need a receiving core.
No, but you need to have pieces in the pipeline for new ownership.
Who's throwing him the ball in 6 weeks?
Well, I mean, I'm not here to answer that. I was just here to chime in on the Mathis conversation.
I really don't care that he might have been the first or top pick.
I'm
next year.
encouraged
I would
by
rather have
this.
that first pick. I'm
Slightly.
not still because it's. So who's leaving?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Who,
Eugene
or
Lewis?
Somebody
Is it
somebody
Dylan
gets
Mitchell?
hurt,
Is
you
it
get to put
Curly
this guy in,
Gittens?
like,
Is it Hergy Mayala? You
mean,
can only play so many receivers.
Mayala's been great. That's
Yeah,
So you're not getting rid of him.
No. I don't know.
So
I just
get
I don't
Dylan
think it's a
Mitchell
bad
or
idea
Eugene
to
Lewis
have
are
more
gone.
depth in the organization at an important position.
You know, I'm sure you could have depth at an important position. What we also need is starters that are
It's
good.
like having 5 good goalies.
You don't have
Like-
enough players. The D line's too soft. The secondary is not good enough, and the O line needs to improve. I'd rather go shore up that right now than build up
but
depth
they
in my
tried to do
receiving
that
core.
with Oakman. I think that's a good pickup. I thought he was fine.
So did I liked him.
Yeah, he's going to be good for them.
Moncrief's been around
They've done
for a
that.
while.
Moncrief made some plays yesterday. A
Yeah.
couple times, made like a pretty athletic play. I had to look down because he knew. I was just like, wait a second. Oh yeah, Moncrief, of course. So I
They
mean,
gave
I
up
thought,
over 400 yards on defense.
yeah.
They gave up 300 100-yard games to 3 different receivers who each had a long of 66 yards or more.
But change a quarterback.
No, I'm not talking fully
That-
change
Well, but
quarterback.
no, but that's like we're in this. This is I don't know if I've ever seen any football team where the quarterback is not the issue, but changing it might also be a solution. It makes no sense.
Okay,
it makes
listen,
no
it
sense.
falls under the same category of the fans that just say the team's losing because of the name change.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
they're gonna
those
pick,
people are
they're gonna
delusional.
pick their argument
Yeah.
and stick with
Yeah.
it, and that's the same thing with quarterback. And quarterbacks in the biggest spotlight, obviously, and you're
Their
gonna hear that.
defense sucks.
It gets destroyed.
That's the reason. I like Niles Morgan. I think he's a good
Yeah.
piece. I think that Nick Anderson moves extremely well.
Yes.
I mean, maybe it's just straight up a secondary issue. I don't know. Like the only veteran you have back there is Purifoy.
And he got lit up a couple of times.
He-
He made
he
a couple
did.
of hellacious hits, though.
Man, he popped a couple guys big time.
Holy smokes,
So maybe
he's a killer.
maybe that's where
Where's
it
the
is.
pressure on the
but where's the
quarterback?
pressure on the quarterback?
So that's your D line too.
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
And Chris Jones is supposed to be a master of finding defensive players. That's why he got
But
Jake
that's
Surratt.
that's why
done now, right?
Oakman's
That's
in.
done now, though, right? Like
No, but
Chris Jones is no longer a defensive
No,
master.
I
He
know.
can't be.
I'm not saying, but that's that. This offseason, I was told that he could get rid of Jake Surezna because he will go find defensive line players.
Well, and Kimdichie
he's not
was
finding
out.
defensive line players.
Kimdichie was out last game.
Kimdichie hasn't exactly been this
He's
great
a bit of a loose
revelation.
cannon anyway.
Yeah,
so
And they've had to go and bring
character.
Sean Oakman because the front seven overall and Derek Moncrief haven't been good enough. That when I'm saying Chris Jones defensive, I'm talking GM. GM Chris Jones is killing GM head coach Chris Jones because he's not giving the right players.
Today, GM Chris Jones fires himself and promotes Shivers to head coach. Would that? I think it was Calvin C. Would that save his job for a little bit? I mean, I have no idea. I like Elliott Brown.
Jay has thrown out there the idea that maybe he just needs to give up the GM title and go being just the head coach and make G-Roy the general manager.
That's an easy.
But
he gives it up. G-Roy takes over, fires him.
he'll still be president of football ops.
That would be something. But like Elliott Brown, I like. He's not your typical big, powerful defensive lineman.
Yeah.
But he was pressuring Drew Brown when he threw that interception yesterday. He's got a couple of sacks already in the season. I like him. I know they love Noah Curtis, and he's a little bit of a physical freak in there as well. And that was a guy they drafted in like the 4th round or something.
Okay.
Now they brought in Oakman. I think they're missing something. Actually, it's funny. They're missing somebody in Seresna's spot, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, now they move Seresna around the defensive line, and maybe Oakman will be that guy. But they are missing. Like last year, they had Seresna and AC Leonard, and they don't have anybody close to that pedigree right now. I think Oakman's got 6 sacks in 3 straight years. He got 18 career sacks. Like he's clogs up the middle of that defense, right? Like he's 6'9". So
Yeah.
they are missing an elite pass rusher. That's something that's definitely not helping the defense.
So
Well,
go
they had
get bring in a
Lemon.
receiver.
Sean Lemon, well, I know he's in a bit of a pickle right now, but
They also used a supplemental draft pick on a defensive lineman. Alfano. What's his name? Antonio Alfano. I think they've used 2 supplemental picks in like the last 3 months.
Sure, but you gave up the first. Like you
But I'm
can't
saying they tried to
give
address
up the first
the
round pick.
defensive line. That was
you
a
can't
guy.
give up the first round pick when you're 0-4, 0-3 at the time. That's my issue with that. And then you used it on a wide receiver.
So you can draft another Canadian middle linebacker that you won't play on your defense, like
a Canadian offensive lineman or something like that. Like that, teams are. I heard you guys say it on the morning show today that
they just had the first
defenses
pick,
you
they
don't
wouldn't
have
play the guy.
That's an indictment on the management. That's where again.
Well, no, I think Blanco would be
I will
good,
say
but-
on this.
Yeah.
Then that's where I don't care that G-Roy Simon says they really like this guy. Because they liked
But they've
Enoch
done a great
McConzo.
job with receivers.
They've liked Enoch McConzo. They've liked all these other guys, and they're not playing.
I think McConzo was brought in before G-Roy, maybe? Or was it
No,
G-Roy
that was Chris
right?
Jones, and that was the same draft as Trey Ford. They drafted Trey Ford. Trey Ford was this great player for them, and now they don't like Trey Ford. I don't trust their evaluation of players.
The Trey Ford conversation is interesting because, like last year, he threw for more than 220 yards twice.
Okay.
yeah.
But he runs the ball extremely well. So, to me, their biggest offensive weapons is their great receiving core.
Yes.
So by
So
going
add
by
to
Trey
it.
Ford, do you take away the ability to get all these receivers going by having Trey Ford scramble around a bit more, which could help you win? But are you still taking
Yes.
advantage of your great receiving core?
Well, yes. It's a couple of things on that. One, it opens up Kevin Brown because we saw that last year. And 2, one thing they didn't need is more receivers this year, and they added more receivers this year. We
Well,
saw from
Mayala
last
didn't
year,
cost them much. He's been great.
But
I mean, that was
that
great.
was and he's been good. So but I would have kept Jake Seresna, not made the trade for Curly's getting Jr. And you could add Mayala, you could have had Mitchell, you could have Luglis. You could have
Seresna
had
going
Cobb's
there,
still there.
Cobb.
led to Oakman being available. You got him, so it's almost like Gittins and Oakman for Seresna, which
Sure, but
it's not bad. I mean,
Okay, but we just said you could have used Seresna type thing. And that to me, it's the very poor roster construction of this team. You could have had a good receiving core, really good receiving core. You didn't need all these extra receivers where now you're sitting there and being like, well, how do you utilize all these receivers? That wasn't the problem last year. When they were winning football games, they got Kevin Brown going involved, and you want a balanced offense. And to me, having Trey Ford, he can run, Kevin Brown can run, and he can hit some receivers. I don't care. I don't need a quarterback to throw for over 400 yards. If he's going to throw me 250 and run for another 60, and Kevin Brown's going to run for 80, love that. Give me that any day.
okay, so I don't know if you guys already talked about it. I've listened to most of the show, but
And you got to go soon.
I got other stuff to do. But if Trey Ford had started these 5 games so far, what are they? 1-4? Might have found a way to win one of the lower
Maybe.
scoring games.
They could have been 0-5. I don't care. But at least I could sit here today going, they tried for the future of getting their new
Yeah,
quarterback.
but then we're also going, man,
And
they're
they
ruining this
failed.
young quarterback by having him play on a team that can't win football games.
No,
I mean,
it's not
that's
even-
always a conversation.
Sure,
too,
but
with
they would have
guys
won.
who are
But they
in
were
tough
winning
spots.
last year. They went 4-6 last year. So I would have put more, at least for me personally, I would have put more on Trey Ford going, maybe this guy can't get it done.
Yeah.
Whereas at least what I was told by Chris Jones and this team is MBT's here to win football games, and they haven't won a football game through 6 weeks.
I just think people are expecting Trey Ford to be Vernon Adams. And he's not going to be Vernon Adams.
It took Vernon Adams a few years and different teams to become Vernon Adams.
Different stops.
Yeah.
I think in Ottawa, they tried to convert him to a receiver at some point. Like, there's...
But what fans don't want is him to have to do that and ultimately be good in another city.
Yeah, well, that might end up happening.
So you've got to start playing him here. And the only reason one of the biggest reasons he'll now leave is because of the GM of this team.
The other argument I didn't have a lot of time for today was the fact that, like, rather lose games in exciting fashion. I'm like, what are you talking about? They've lost like a handful of exciting games already this year. Like, it's been exciting football.
Yeah, but it's
throwing the ball for 350 yards is exciting.
Yeah, but they had 2 touchdowns early in the game. They had 2 touchdowns in the middle or at the end, and nothing in the middle.
That's a poop sandwich.
Still has 4 touchdowns.
And they want to see the running. They want to see it throughout the game, not just I saw it in the first quarter, start of the second, and the end of the game. That drive somewhere between the 2 touchdowns.
There was a lot of games last year where things lulled with Trey Ford at quarterback too, boys.
Sure, but he can make that 1 or 2 electric plays that gets everyone out of their seat and they're losing their mind. And that's what you remember.
Yeah, but if your defense is going to keep giving up 35 points a game, it doesn't matter.
It does for that fan because it's at least if I lost, I'm walking away because Trey Ford, though, gave me those 2 amazing plays that I could remember.
Losing's losing. It sucks. Like, I don't know if they were 0-5 right now with Trey Ford at quarterback. Do you think fans are still going, yeah, but man, it's been exciting watching him? They're still going to be bitching about the fact that they're 0-5 and they can't win. Like,
yeah,
sure, but they also might be sitting there and they tried developing a quarterback and it didn't work.
Zach Mathis is 6'7", apparently the real deal. That's all I really wanted to say.
Somebody texted and said, you just want to come in here and name drop that you talked to G-Roy.
Mostly, you wanted to name drop that I left off from a conversation.
We'll see if that guy starts playing.
So with all the issues of the team,
Zach,
D-line, O-line. I'm here. I know.
Your head's so far against the wall, I couldn't even tell.
Yeah,
somebody texted in that it looks like Zach Peardo for the Oilers texted. He said, looks like Zach wants to fight Iwanyk with the way you're sitting.
Well, I'm like, arms out and stuff. Yeah, well, with all the issues of the team, like D-line, really everywhere, if there was only one spot that could get adjusted and
upgraded?
Upgraded and have the focus on, what spot would you guys upgrade and why?
Right now on the team, it has to be secondary. No.
Is it O-line or secondary?
It's got to be D-line.
D-line.
If you have a defensive line that could get pressure, it eases things. It makes things better for your secondary.
Okay.
If you have a defensive line that could get to that quarterback quick, right, or collapse the pocket, force that quarterback to run outside, like as Dusty was saying with Brown, at least, like Drew Brown gets forced outside.
Yeah.
It was an awful pick, just a terrible throw.
Yes.
But it leads to that. If you're going to have a weaker secondary, then you need a strong defensive line. So I would go, if you have a strong defense, to me, it's the building on the trenches. You need a good offensive line, you need a good defensive line, you build out from there.
And then,
so if I had to fix one spot, because in the end, ultimately, the offense has actually moved the ball and has scored points this year, I'll go to the defensive line.
That's fair. And then it allows the young, inexperienced DBs and linebackers to learn and grow and puts them into an easier situation where they can get comfortable with the game. I respect that logic very, very much. Well said. Good question, Zach.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it's hard to talk CFL when I'm still just getting into it. I'm here kind of just
that one. We got really in depth in that one, and that one's you can't just jump in as easy.
He has a good name, Zach.
Yeah, but I'm not. I really just don't care that they like him.
Maybe in some time he's going to be a superstar, and
sure,
people will be like, "That was a great choice."
Which receiver are you getting rid of for him this season? When are we going to see him play? That's the question. You taking out Eugene Lewis out of the lineup?
They have good.
You taking Mayal out of the lineup at this moment?
Mitchell's coming
taking
back.
Gittens Jr. out of the lineup? Nope.
No.
Dylan Mitchell, you taking him out of the lineup?
No.
He's actually until yesterday. He's actually had a really good season.
Yes.
So where are you putting him? So I guess Smith's spot maybe is.
Yeah, maybe Smith.
Now would a trade be an option?
But didn't he scored his first touchdown yesterday? Did he not? Anyway.
Who did?
Smith. Who scored his first touchdown yesterday?
But now with all these receivers, and as you guys were talking about now, there's this receiver that's out that's not playing.
Well, they just brought him in, so it'll take a little bit to get him out there.
Now, do you think a trade is in the picture to maybe try and bring him in to try and play
But that's
some
the
games?
Like, which one are you trading away?
And that's
to
hard,
get him in, and it's just like...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got my touchdowns incorrect.
Nah.
I should have paid more attention.
So it's defensively is a problem. Special teams been a problem. Offense has been all right.
What?
There's a Oiler trade.
Who?
I just want to follow this up, make sure it's right. The Sens acquire Xavier Burgot and Jake Chason from Edmonton for Robbie Yarventi and a 2025 fourth-round pick. You know that guy?
No.
Okay. Xavier Burgot to the Ottawa Senators.
Borgo. So
Burgot and Jake Chason
Oilers trade.
for
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
actually just talking about that right
Sorry,
now. Thanks
sorry.
for listening.
What?
You want to jump in and talk about this one too?
Actually,
I have something to talk about now.
I think
He's well. Let's find out.
We'll have to. I'll let Tommy.
Another Finn. So
I'll let them look into that. So I'll quickly wrap up the Elks while
There he is.
Tommy finds a little bit of info so we could go a little more into that. But yeah, the Elks don't expect any changes I would expect right now. They will take on the Redblacks on Friday. Green and Gold kickoff show live from Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. It is an away game, so come on down. Century Casino especially, because Jay and I will be there for the whole game. Watch the game with us. Cheese and jalapeno smokies on special. I saw a couple of nasties there yesterday, including Ken. But we'll be on at 4 o'clock on Friday. The offense needs to be more consistent, I would say, is the thing overall through the course of 60 minutes, not just have your spurts. The defense just outright needs to be better because they're a disaster. Special teams, Boris Beatty needs to make his kicks. That's what he's employed for. And Javon Leake, hold on to that football. But they're on 5. And right now, not expecting changes, but we'll wait and see.
Your Venti, if you're wondering, is a Finn. He is 21 years old. He was a point-a-game guy last year in Belleville of the AHL. Just about a point-a-game guy. And he got 7 NHL games in, picking up 1 assist. Left winger, 6'1", or 2, pardon me, 184 pounds. So, depth player, future.
Are you surprised they'd give up on Borgo?
Yes.
Quick?
No, pardon me, no. No.
No?
Because it didn't seem to be going well. The development kind of... Although he's only played 2 full years in the AHL, but...
Well, he stepped back a bit. First season in the AHL, 22-23, he had 34 points, 62 games, 13 goals. And then next season, this previous season, 55 games, just 20 points and 8 goals.
Yeah.
First round pick, 22nd overall, 2021. So,
Yeah.
And then Jake Chason, he's only played 1 AHL game. He played in the ECHL as well this past season. 68 games, 20 points.
There you go.
So he's
Yeah,
he's way down there in the depth.
They wanted
chart.
Borgo to have a better year this year. It didn't happen. So
No, he didn't step up. So
I'm just surprised you
Make
wouldn't
the
hold
move, get a pick
on
back.
and maybe out part of a trade for something else as a throw-in because there was that
That's
extra
kinda what
value.
this
Maybe it's
was.
a former first-round pick, but you're not like it's not like a throw-in for getting somebody like more established,
oh, I see what you
like
mean.
in a deadline deal or something as a chip to
Like,
be like
yeah.
we're adding this piece to help elevate.
You could do that with your Venti now.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you announced the trade and it was Borgo going, I thought somebody else was coming in who could
Of
play right now. I'm
significance?
like, wow, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you gonna add right now? I know you need. They probably need to address some of the defense. There's so many right shot defensemen, and it sounds like broken record. But I thought that was maybe something that could be happening, or trading Kulak or somebody out. But
I don't know how
we're
much
not making those moves
clout
yet.
Borgo had out there on the trade market. So
I don't think he would have had a lot, especially having a season where he regressed in instead of progressing and
Correct.
developing more. So
correct.
Benner's Pancake saying it's a change of scenery type trade. For
That's a nice way to
probably for
describe
both
it.
sides, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. So there you go. The Oilers making some sort of trade.
A minor.
I don't know if much else to break this down.
I think we just did. When will he play? If that's a question. Maybe he gets a call up. Yarventi. Will he make the team this year? The answer is no.
Well, they don't have any room.
Yeah.
This team's too good
But it,
forward wise.
so essentially, they add a little more high end talent in the minors and quote unquote restock this or upgrade on Borgo. Is how you'd look at it, I suppose.
yeah,
Yeah.
So potential moving piece at the deadline.
Sure.
hopefully
Or a
another
guy that
chip in.
can slide in a couple of years, something like that. Although I don't know if he'll want to wait. He's already played. That was 3 AHL seasons for him. in Belleville. A lot of those Finns, I don't know. They don't like sticking around, waiting 5 years to get their shot at the NHL. He did play 7 games with the Sens last year, picking up an assist. Interesting.
Let's see I got to see if I could look for a contract. I'm having to now navigate Puckpedia.
Puckpedia.
There's Ottawa. Yeah, I'm clicking Ottawa.
Maybe
I
it
don't
has
know if
less
it's fully
cap hit,
updated.
It probably has.
Well, I'm just wondering, like,
although
when
they are pretty quick.
His they've already changed it. Yeah, so I got to go have it.
Very, very quick.
I knew Cap Friendly was always quick. I didn't know if Puckpedia would be on it that quickly.
Puckpedia is gonna just reap the benefits and the rewards of Cap Friendly being owned by the.
So he's an RFA at the end of this year.
So
he's got one more year, and then he's an RFA.
Yeah. So I mean, if he has a bad year, he could just go back to Finland if he doesn't want to, or doesn't see a future with Edmonton, or they could move him to an organization where they might see him as a fit in the big club, or he's willing to stick it out and play in the minors for a couple of years here in Edmonton with the Oilers organization.
And Borgo is an RFA too.
Yeah.
After this season. So
yeah,
similar contracts that what they're moving out. So there you go. More of that, I guess, on the Oil Stream later today at noon. Tom Gazzola, Dustin Nilsson, they'll have you covered on that. And coming up in about 40 minutes time right here on Edmonton Sports Talk, it is the Lock Shop. Dusty and Huss. Huss gets to do a little bit of a victory lap. He had a plus 725 soccer hit yesterday. He had Spain to win in 90 minutes, as well as Argentina and Colombia to go into extra time, to have a draw through 90 minutes. And that cashed. So if you jumped on with Huss, which I did, it was cashing. My thoughts that Colombia and England were going to both lift the trophy, I was wrong on that. But Colombia was so close. I'll get to Copa right away here. Do you guys have any other final thoughts on the Elks?
No, I yelled about enough stuff.
Yeah, I got more fired up today than I did yesterday.
I want to go back. I'm going to go back and watch the game, actually. It was very frustrating.
Yeah. Go back and relive the frustration.
Yeah.
And now they'll go win on Friday.
Good. And they should have won yesterday.
Well, but the problem is, if they were going to do the splits, it had to be reversed. You have to win the home game.
They should have. They should have won back to back.
You need to get home wins. Like, if you're going to win games this season, you could go 5 and what is that? 13. Make sure those 5 wins though are at home, or 4 of the 5 wins are at home. That's what's also going to turn this a little bit. Fans, it doesn't even fully have to be about the record for this team. They just want to see wins.
I know.
So when you have your home games, you need to let your fan walk away from a win. Imagine if yesterday people were at the tailgate, brought their kids for Dino Days, and got a win as they walked out. This was a nice weather. This was a fun time. Look at this team. But instead, they're walking away because they lost in another miserable fashion.
At least it was fun at the park.
Oh, go ahead.
At least it was fun. Like, the Dino Days was there. That's the thing that you kind of brought up. If your team is losing, you got to find different ways to make it exciting. And the excitement was still there, even though the team lost. It was a great place to be. But you have to get those wins, and it's so painful for fans just to see their team consistently lose, especially if they're promised a winning season.
Well, that's what. Well, yeah, this was supposed to be winning football.
Where's Taco's text? I want to get Taco. Had a bad experience
at the game.
Yes, I want to find that. I had it. Shoot.
While you're looking at this, text comes in.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I'll never understand signing MBT. They were not going to be a real championship threat with him this year anyways, and you stepped on the good vibe you were building with the fans. That was the other part of it to me. That's where
I understand
the fans wanted to cheer on Trey Ford.
Yep.
And from a business perspective, you needed to give him a reason to come out this year, and that could have been Trey Ford. But you went with MBT, who's not as sexy of a style quarterback, and you're not winning. So we're here.
I want to see Trey Ford in.
Yeah, he's
the
exciting
chance
to watch. Is he technically sound? No. Taco. This is in regard because Zachticum. We're talking about Dino Days, and from what I observed, it was good. But Taco had a negative experience, and I want to read it out. Taco says, "Hey boys, I am never going back to an Elks game. We bought the $60 family deal. It included 2 Dino Nugget meals for the kids. When we arrived, the line to receive your food voucher was massive." And a worker at information said to wait 10 minutes into the game and the line will be gone. We did this and he was right. When we approached each of the specific food vendors to get the food, they told us that the Dino Nuggets are all sold out. A guy behind me heard the worker and asked if he could at least get the fries and a drink. The worker said he can only do the drink. The guy lost it. How can you advertise and sell tickets to a special event and then not have enough for everyone? What a joke. That's not good.
Well, yeah, the entire Elks organization is a mess, including their promotions and food department. How do you run out of your Dino Nuggets on Dino Nugget Day?
You should not run out of Dino Nuggets.
Yeah, well, and also like it was, you get nuggets, fries, and a drink. So I don't know why you would also not get your fries and a drink.
I don't
like
understand
it's only
that.
drink.
Or like some kind of supplement.
The one thing I will say is that the vendors and the food is not, the Elks don't control that.
Is that the city?
I think that's the city that they're involved with that. So I don't think the Elks have too much control. That's one of the reasons why they can't do like more specialty menu items or something, is that's one of the things I don't believe the Elks have full control of. But at the same time, you still have to be communicating with them and make sure that there's enough. And for whoever's involved, you're selling X amount of tickets, so you know you need X amount for those tickets.
Yeah.
You're also then selling the Dino Nuggets on the side. There's got to be a way to...
You have to have an...
you're planning for extra.
You have to have extra.
You especially when it's that giveaway that you're doing. So I don't care if you have extra left over after this game. Save it for Sunday, when Hamilton's in town, and just sell extra Dino Nuggets or something. That something. So
Joaquin will get you set up.
Yeah, that's not a good look. But
Yeah, that's super unfortunate.
I'm sorry to hear
I
that,
will say
Taco.
this in defense of the Elks: they are a very lean staff at this moment. There's as much as the Elks used to have money, and the Eskimos at the time had the money, and they had a robust staff. They're very lean over there,
And they're stressed to the max.
and they're trying as much as they can. And I'm not trying to say you don't have a right to be upset about this, because you have
Absolutely have
all
a
the
right.
right to be upset about this, Taco. But they're doing multiple jobs for a single person.
Yeah.
And that's where hopefully new ownership, when that eventually gets taken place and that person comes in, maybe part of what they'll do is try to build a nice staff to help get things done right. So get somebody, maybe this was missed by one person, that they're so busy with other things that they didn't double check how many Dino Nuggets there were. And maybe the new owner will come in knowing that, because whatever owner it is, they know they're losing money.
Yeah.
They know it's going to be a few years of losing money.
Yeah.
Maybe part of that losing money for them is, I'm building a staff. I'm building an organizational structure that has the people necessary to get this done. Obviously, maybe not one that is overdone, but maybe going, well, this spot might need 2 people, not 1.
Yeah.
And so, at the very least, I will say, once new ownership comes, at least give them a chance. And I think the city needs to give whoever it is a chance, because one thing they're doing is they're taking a gamble themselves on buying this franchise. They're going to be losing money, and they're not buying this for a business perspective. Whoever's buying this, because there's no other reason to do it right now, they're buying this because they love this franchise and love this team and they love this city.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt of that.
A little bit of grace there.
That will be the one thing I'll have to say.
I'll say one thing about what the Elks organization is trying to do. They, like Maddie said, the stress that's on a lot of the staff, they've been given a pretty frugal budget that they have to work within, and they're trying to deliver and hit home runs when they only have power for ground rule doubles, basically. If that makes sense. Yeah. Exhale.
Well, I don't even know. The Friday, the good thing I have all week to get ready for Friday.
Calm down, just
it's
settle in, and then get pumped up.
But it's also like, I don't know what it takes. It's going to take, and I got to put Trey Ford on the side here, because that's one of the answers. But what it's going to take to get fans to trust this team right now, again, as long as Chris Jones is on the bench and is the GM. One win against Ottawa isn't enough. One win against, they could go 2-0 in the next 2. It's Ottawa and Hamilton, and they very much could go win those 2 games. But you're 2-5. It's not that impressive, because of also then who you beat in the end.
Yeah.
And you've got such a hole. And Calgary's got 2 wins. Winnipeg's got 2 wins. BC and Saskatchewan, we can't even focus on them right now.
No.
So to get a crossover spot, you're still 2 wins behind.
it's not good enough.
Not a good spot. Not a good spot at all. Let's get to Road Warriors, which is brought to you by AccuSteel Heavy Haul Trailers. Custom manufacturing heavy haul trailers. Quality, innovation, integrity. Engineered frame repairs. No patch jobs. Better than you solutions. Trusted by the leaders in the heavy transport industry. Get on the road with peace of mind for your large loads. AccuSteel.ca. On the road yesterday out in Miami, it was Argentina, it was Colombia. I don't know if you guys saw any of the scenes leading into that match.
How were people trying to sneak in and they like destroyed an escalator?
They snuck in.
Oh
That's the other
through the
thing.
ventilation.
For those that don't know, the big Copa America final was played yesterday in Miami. It was supposed to kick off at 6 o'clock. It kicked off, I think it's 7:15 officially, maybe even a little later than that.
Oh my God.
Because fans were sneaking in. Fans were jumping over fences and getting in, and they had to stop. Like, they shut down the stadium. They tried getting everyone out of the stadium to bring everyone back in, and there was a tweet that only if you have a ticket can you get into the stadium. And then eventually there was just video of, after a while, they just let whoever in. There was no security. There was no metal detectors. Somebody could have just went in with whatever weapon they wanted.
Oh,
it wouldn't have been
Jesus.
detected. People that had tickets were then being denied entry into the stadium.
That's a mess.
It was a massive disaster, which some people are blaming the U.S. for. But
that's not CONMEBOL?
But that's CONMEBOL was running this, and in the end, that stadium has hosted a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that stadium hosts NFL games on a regular basis.
There's an F1 race that goes all around and through it.
I am not going to blame the organizers of U.S. soccer for this fully, because that stadium knows how to do it. They've done it. They've done it at a high level with the Super Bowl. But 2026 World Cup is going to be played at that stadium.
And FIFA's going to control that.
But there was a lot of issues security-wise in this tournament. And
that's messed
26
up.
Is going to, it has the potential to be a real disaster when it comes from a security perspective. But it was fascinating just watching on Twitter what was going on down there and just seeing the videos of these people sneaking in as we're about to watch a final. A major championship was being awarded last night for a soccer tournament, and fans were just jumping the fence to get in.
Well, the one that got me, I saw the video of people literally crawling up. They got up on a platform, and then they crawled through the ventilation. And that's how they got into the stadium. That is insane. And then an entire escalator was destroyed. Like the railings were knocked down, and there's like crumbling. And that state, don't get me wrong, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, it used to be Joe Robbie Stadium, Pro Player Stadium. I think it's like 40-something years old. It's an older stadium that they
put in a lot of money.
Yeah,
and
they redid.
This last one, they've put a lot of money into it at the moment.
Yes, and to see that kind of damage by a sheer mass of humanity is messed up. And I want to reiterate this too, because if people are looking at USA Soccer and be like, that's your fault. When a big event, let's use the Heritage Classic for an example to bring it closer to home, comes in and takes over a stadium, that wasn't the Elks running the Heritage Classic. That wasn't the Oilers running the Heritage Classic. It was the National Hockey League. They say, this is our stadium. We get control of it. We need the blueprints. We need to know what works where. And the team, the city go, here you go. Please don't wreck anything. Good luck. And same with like World Cup of Women's World Cup that was here in 2015. And so if that CONMEBOL can't run a tournament and can't have the security and can't have a facility operate the way it's supposed to and has a history of doing so properly, that is scary and an indictment on CONMEBOL for being a piece of crap organization, one shortly removed or one slice away from FIFA, which is also
what's the second biggest federation?
UEFA is the biggest one.
Yeah,
right?
They're going to be the best, and CONMEBOL is going to be the next because they have the next biggest countries.
They have the means.
They have Argentina. They got Brazil. They got Uruguay.
But they cut corners. They don't. They turn a blind eye.
The Uruguayan manager ripped on the tournament.
Good.
Canadian manager Jesse Marsh ripped on the tournament.
Good.
It was by all accounts. Apparently Bolivia didn't even have a proper training facility. And as the Uruguayan manager said, he's like, yeah, because it's Bolivia, no one cared. Like, that's how they were treated. Like, Bolivia doesn't matter.
Pathetic, because as we know, in the United States of America, there are an absolute plethora of places for soccer teams, national ones, regardless of how important they are as a nation or as a soccer nation. There are a plethora of adequate facilities for them to utilize. Colleges, club teams, private soccer clubs, like, it is there. That is embarrassing if that's how bad it was.
Hopefully nobody got hurt though during that, like the escalator. I mean,
I think there was some injuries.
Yeah.
There must have been some injuries. That many people trying to climb through in vents, mind you, like just trying to watch the game.
Literally in the ventilation system.
And the people running it like just didn't expect that. They cut corner, like they're known to cut corners. Have there been other issues similar to this where security?
Well, we had the
just been
security
bad
issue
in general?
where there was the Colombians and the Uruguayans and the seats having their issues, and then the Uruguayans jumping into the stands and fighting with the Colombian fans. Oh. So we had that just recently.
Yeah.
There was a few security issues that came from this tournament that you're like, eh. It was actually, it will go down as maybe one of the worst run tournaments in modern time for soccer. Like, ticket prices were expensive. Its stadiums were empty. It was, look, in the end, it was designed for Argentina to go win. It was slightly rigged for Argentina. And it goes down to what happens in soccer is you play your group stages. If you get out of your group, generally you aren't going to see the other person in your group until you get to a final. But Canada took on Argentina in a semifinal because they didn't move them to the other side because they wanted to rig it in a way that if Argentina was going to play Brazil, it would have been in a final. And that's what it was designed for.
Oh,
and of
good.
course, naturally, where was the final played?
Miami.
And where does Messi play?
Miami.
Argentina to go win this. Like it was actually just a disaster. But in the end, Canada had a great tournament. It's a shame they couldn't ultimately hold on and get the win against Uruguay in the third place match, giving up that late equalizer. I hate Suarez. I absolutely can't stand Luis Suarez.
He is annoying to look at, is he not?
Bit the Italians in that one. It cost us the World Cup. And then he comes and he takes out Canada in that one. But things are looking promising for Canada, at least as we head towards 2026, because that was an excellent showing. And Jesse Marsh seems to be the absolute right guy in charge. And after the match, he was yelling at the team in a good way.
Yeah.
Look, we were better than France, I think he said.
France.
Thank you. We look what we did. You guys should be proud. And he's setting this team up in a very nice way. And I'm very excited about the future of that. And I will be in Toronto and Vancouver in 2026 for Canada. I will tell you that.
To get the go-ahead marker with 10 minutes left of regulation time, that was huge. And it was a nice goal, great run, nice rebound goal. But you just knew it wasn't over. It was...
and it's funny because they kind of kept pushing a little bit.
Yeah.
And it was like at that late... Sometimes you sometimes hate it, but it's like you need to play a little more back.
Get the ball.
You don't need to be on full pressure. You don't
Yeah.
need to be on full pressure. Focus a little bit on the defense, but Luis Suarez, what a disaster! That biter.
And then in the
Apparently
penalty
bit someone
kicks,
in the fighting too. Oh, and also why Coleman was
with
a
those
disaster.
choppers.
No one was banned from that match.
Yeah. No
They go into
suspensions.
the seats, and rightfully so for what the rationale is, but you still gotta get a ban. And they will get one, but they don't get it for the third place match against Canada.
No, it's okay.
Fired up about a few things today.
Lots to be fired up about.
I did win my CFL fantasy, I believe. I got to do those final stats today. I think I'm going to take down Eric, so I got to win. Lucas Holt and the San Antonio Texans are undefeated, though.
Yeah.
He's rolling.
Yeah, Eric was talking like during the game. He's just like, I think he had two of the receivers on the Elks.
Yeah,
He was
Gittins
just like,
Jr. and Mitchell.
Yeah.
I had MBT and Eugene Lewis still going, but I had like a 30-point lead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't
Well,
close.
Yeah.
Just thinking about that right now, there's no chance Eric would have caught me. So, sorry, Eric. I got my second win, and I take on Eric again this week.
Oh, back to back.
We're in their first back-to-backs at the Dunya.
The Dunya.
Yeah, it's special. It's special.
The best, CFL?
It's the number one CFL fantasy league in the world. There's no question. Although the GM of the Kerfloat or however you want to go, he's saying Dusty's third place now in the Kerfloat standings.
Oh,
I'm surprised we're not hearing about that from Dusty.
how convenient he would forget. Okay, so we covered Copa.
We covered Copa. We talked Canada. We talked a lot about the Edmonton Elks.
Should we talk about Euro or no?
Sure.
Because I only saw a couple of English supporters fighting each other in the Ice District after the match.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I was like, oh, they must have lost.
was a big spot for the English fans.
Mostly,
which is a little weird.
I saw some Spain jerseys, but two guys our age and 30s or whatever fighting each other wearing their English kits.
Yeah, that sounds
and I was
weird.
like, oh, idiots. English fans on par. They must have lost.
I know one of our listeners, Johnny Alberta and stuff. He's a big Manchester United fan. Sorry to him on this, but I just love when England loses. Not gonna lie.
That's too bad.
Well, they're like Leafs fans in the sense that they talk a lot about how great they are. And I'm not saying Johnny does, but other ones do. And it's like, well, when did you win? When was the last time you won?
Back-to-back Euro final losses.
Back-to-back Euro finals losses, though. They've never won on foreign soil, World Cup or Euro. They've been like 50-some years without a trophy. But we always hear about them, and it's coming home. And I understand it's coming home is the design for that's where soccer was invented and stuff. But go win a trophy and then start saying it or something. I don't know.
Pick up a big win.
It's nice to see. It would have been tough to have to hear for at least 2 years, potentially 4 years, that they won the Euros. Just like if the Leafs ever go win a Stanley Cup, the pain and suffering we're gonna have to go through for an off season.
Oh, it'd be longer than an off season. Like you would just hear about it all the time.
Oh, there'd be docs for years after that, and
it'd be the next playoffs, and you just hear about it. Oh, don't forget the Leafs won.
We would have specials every day wherever the cup is throughout the summer. Today's cup with John Tavares, and it'd be live on location. And we'd have a full hour special, like a long special live, and it'd be the whole time, and it would just be awful. And to me, that'd be kind of similar if England ever won a title. So, and Spain's, they were fun to watch again, and they deserve it. And it's good to see. In my pool, I dropped to second. Me and my brother were first for the longest time, and then because of the ending, we dropped to second. Still finished in the money.
I know.
Dropped to second.
The one thing, and I really enjoyed watching. I dipped into more soccer than ever in the last couple of weeks because of Euro and mostly Canada at Copa, which I hope they get back into again because they're going to reduce the number of teams again, right? They're going to go back to 12.
I don't know. No one. I don't know. I didn't read anything.
DVD was telling me about that because they expanded to 16.
And they've done it a couple times going to 16. Generally, in the past, it's historically been a 12-team tournament.
Yeah.
There's 10 CONMEBOL nations. They invite 2 additional ones. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they'll try to keep, if CONCACAF and them and CONMEBOL will try to keep it at 16 though, because look, you can't go back to the U.S. for the next one.
No.
But there's U.S. eyeballs that will be on the tournament, and there'll be Canadian eyeballs on the tournament. And
absolutely.
If it's a 12-team, it might be tough for Canada to go because I could see U.S. and Mexico getting the 2 invites more than Canada.
Absolutely.
And that's what would be a little difficult. But at the same time, that's not for 4 years from now.
Fair point. But bottom line, like Canada has nothing to be ashamed of, even though the bronze was in hand and they let it slip to Uruguay. Uruguay is a great nation, great team when it comes to football. But the contrasting styles in Euro compared to American South and North soccer is incredible. It's a scrap. It's a scrap over here. Over there, it's
like, are they trying to do
polite?
Arts? Yeah,
it's very
trying to be
polite
poetry on the field or something.
And I'm like, I think it was a few days ago. I was flipping and I was like, oh, what game is this? And I didn't even look at the score bug, and I was just watching the style. I'm like, oh, this is Euro because it was very neat and tidy and proper. And then you'd watch, like last night watching the Copa final, they're beating the crap out of each other in the last few minutes of overtime.
Well, I can't show it on because it's on my phone, but there's this meme on it was from TikTok, which like compared the Euros and Copa, and the top part is just like the formations, and everything's moving so beautifully. Yes. And the Copa part is just guys with like sticks beating each other.
That's pretty much how it is.
Yeah, that's the tournament. Yeah, it's a great contrast that you watch both at the same time. You go from the Euros and you watch this. They're trying to play beautiful soccer and moving things, and then you go to Copa and it's like this could be a fight. Like the reason Richie Laryea started some games for Canada was he's probably our feistiest guy, and if there's going to be a fight, you want Richie Laryea on your team. Yeah, he's starting against Peru. This is going to be a one to watch.
I loved it, and I was watching the final yesterday. I'm like, I wonder how these styles mesh. And I'm like, oh yeah, Argentina, champions, world champions, and
Messi,
Uruguay
with
is
a
good.
big
Brazil is good.
I don't know if you saw his ankle.
His ankle would balloon, and now he got stepped on.
I think he twisted it. He twisted it. So there was a moment in the first half where he was running and he was by the goal line and he twisted it and he went down. He was in pain, and I was like, oh boy, he's in pain. And Jay went with, I'm tired of these guys and soccer players because you see a lot of diving. And I was like, no. Like, I would understand what he's saying if it was more players. I was like, Messi doesn't do this.
Right.
Messi, when he fights through it, I'm like, this doesn't look good.
His ankle.
So he came up, he kept playing, but then in the second half, it just got worse. And you go look, it was balloon.
Gross, yeah.
And that one was a bad one, and he was
like
crying.
double the size.
Tough. Yeah, that was that. And look, and you can't run on that.
No.
You can't kick the football with that.
You can barely walk with it.
Yeah.
That's one where he's wearing slides with socks, and I was like, yeah, I'll let it go.
Just take the socks off. Why are you putting socks on?
I don't know.
If your
gotta get
ankles
in the
hurt, just
stinky
keep it
feet.
breathing. I don't know. Bones saying, as a longtime Memphis Mad Dog supporter who's Lieutenant Eric's team, I question the moves made by management up to and including the waiving of Zach Collaros.
We were talking. Collaros doesn't look the same this year, but he's lost some pieces, right?
Well, there's the injuries. Kenny Lawler's hurt. Dalton Schoen's hurt. But the team hasn't, like, even their win against Calgary, it's not a sexy win. Like, they're 2 wins this year, but I don't know. Like, I don't think anyone's looking like Winnipeg's back as of yet.
No. Although that was a good win against Calgary.
The one concern I have, though, is for the Canadian Football League in general, is that there's Vernon Adams, who's healthy. There's Cody Fajardo, who's now hurt. We'll see his status. And then I feel like now there's a big drop off again for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
There's no, like,
Trevor Harris is old and hurt.
Chad Kelly's suspended.
Yeah.
Jake Mara just isn't doing it. Like,
No.
I don't know how much longer he gets of a leash to turn things around there. Collaros
Bo
is getting
Levi
older.
Mitchell's
He's dropped.
old.
He's old. MBT isn't doing, like, he's fine.
MBT's
he's
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
He might actually be the 3rd best quarterback in the Canadian Football League this year.
And he's never been a
maybe.
superstar. He's just been a good quarterback.
Trevor Harris is hurt.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those. Maybe Shea Patterson ends up being a top guy, but it's like there is a bit of a drop off once you get to past the top 2.
How much of a tease was it seeing Nathan Rourke on the broadcast the other day? He's preparing for camp and all that stuff, but
how long until he just says,
back.
I don't need the pen, like I'm not going for the pension, I want to play football? Or does he ever do that?
I don't know.
Because if he doesn't play this year, if he doesn't get on, like, as a number 2, you're just a practice roster guy until a team sits there and goes, there's a cheaper guy, a younger guy we're going to bring on the practice roster, not you.
He deserves a shot. He was great in the preseason. What was it, last year?
Where is he again?
But what is it, Giants? No.
Giants.
Yeah, Giants. And he had that quick stint in New England. Anyway, I'm sure at a certain point there's going to be a fork in the road, and he can come back to Canada and make $500,000 a year, plus endorsements, and be the face of the CFL for a decade.
With Trey Ford, who's the face of with the Edmonton Elks.
Yes. And maybe, like, if I'll say this, like, listen, here in Edmonton, I know Calgary's suffering as well. They're not getting a lot of fans up to McMahon, which is a dump of a stadium, obviously. Yeah. If there can be a renaissance under the right ownership with an exciting team, yes, in Vancouver, and people start to talk about the Lions again and go to the games, and it can happen in Montreal, same thing, new owner in Palado. Yes, they won the Grey Cup last year, and they deserve it. Great job by Jason Moss and Danny Machocha. If Winnipeg stays strong, if Saskatchewan stays strong, I know in Saskatchewan they haven't been getting the best crowds. There's no reason why it can't happen here in Edmonton, and it can't happen in Calgary. I think it will happen in both markets, but there has to be some changes. But if there's people, I haven't seen a lot of people saying, CFL's dying. The TV numbers are good. There's interest in the game. But if Vancouver and Montreal can have this renaissance and people are going to the games and are interested in the Owls and the Lions, it will happen here. Toronto is a whatever.
Why do you say that? Why do you say?
Well,
They've
they
always
get
been
like
that way.
8,000 people a game. They have MLSE that owns them, but there's no promotional support that goes into them. The Argos are just treated like dog meat.
And what sucks is that they've never been consistently good for like 3-year span.
Yeah,
they've
that's
had their
true,
Grey
too.
Cup years, but it's like a surprise year. And also, look, they won, and then they're bad to being bad, and then won the Grey Cup 2 years ago. Last year had a good season. Then this year they just lost a lot of players, and we didn't know what they were. And then you got the suspension with Chad Kelly. The one saving grace I will put to, that franchise, maybe with MLSE, is that Keith Pelly is now in charge of MLSE,
And he used to be the Argos president,
He used to be an Argos president. That if there's some, like, if there is a care of if somebody's going to care about the CFL, it might be Keith Pelly.
I hope so.
Then it's like, yeah, no, I'm going to put some interest in the Argos because I like that franchise. I've spent some time with that franchise. I'm hoping he still loves the league in that sense. And he makes those changes and puts that attention and love into the Argos that they do with TFC.
Yep. I remember he was the president of the Argos at the time and lost a bet to someone here in Edmonton. And the lost bet, he had to come here and sing the national anthem.
Oh, I kind of remember hearing about that.
It was Keith Pelly.
Oh.
Yeah, they don't... Talking to former Argos, people who worked within that organization, they're like, they get treated... Yes, they have the new locker room at BMO Field. Yes, they finally have a permanent practice facility and training grounds, which is very important for football, obviously. But they don't get a lot of love and attention. So hopefully that changes. And the other thing, too, about the Toronto market is they're so fixated on the NFL. They're never getting an NFL team. It's a lost cause to think that they ever will. Vancouver will not get one. No chance in hell.
No Canadian team
never
ever in the NFL.
Not in the next 50 years.
Not in the next 50 years.
The one thing the NFL has never wanted to do is be the reason to kill the CFL.
Yeah,
I think they're getting closer to that. They don't care anymore about that.
Yeah,
but you got to look at what would be the next spots. Like Buffalo is going to fight the hell out of Toronto.
Absolutely.
They're getting the new stadium. Why would you lose that fan base? I would think the same with Vancouver. Seattle would fight the hell out of that one going there. You'd want to go to Mexico if you can, if you're the NFL.
London,
and then you'd want to build a European division. Yep. If there's going to be, like, who's going to be that first real global league? Is it going to be the NBA or is it going to be NFL? If there's one league that could do it with the money, it's going to be more the NFL, I think. So you'd want London. You'd want somewhere in Germany, if not 2 teams in Germany. Can you do Munich and Berlin or something like that? Can you build a 4 or 5 team division out in Europe?
Right.
And and so Canada, I just don't see why the NFL knows they have Canada. The NFL knows they got the fans in Canada. They get the people travel down. They got the eyeballs. They got the attention. They don't need Canada.
No.
They'll go global. They'll have bigger ambitions. So I don't see, and you need stadiums for it.
Yep.
I don't think BC Place would be, I don't think it's big enough. They need 70 plus, I think. So Rogers is not big enough either.
Well, it's baseball specific now.
And so they would have to actually build a brand new stadium completely.
And they're not getting that.
And where are you going to build that and all of that? So.
The other thing, too, is they tried Toronto. Remember they had the
Buffalo
series of games?
I went to one of those games.
Was it any good?
Yeah, I was watching Buffalo and Atlanta.
It started good, like crowd-wise, and then by the last couple, I think it was done, and they pulled out of there.
It's also the reason why Edmonton never has hosted an NFL game. It was I remember talking to JMO, and he said they were close. I think Pat Bolin was going to be the Broncos here.
That would have made sense.
But then Buffalo out of nowhere announced their series with Toronto, and the NFL was like, well, we don't need another one up there.
And then there was a disaster in Winnipeg when they had the Raiders go up there against the Packers.
I think you're right.
And then they deemed that where the goalposts are for the CFL, because they obviously had to put in an NFL field, was a trip hazard. So they played on a 70-yard field.
There was a disaster.
It was pathetic.
That's odd.
Yeah.
That's weird. Just 70 yards?
Well, yeah, they had you go look, and it was a smaller field because the goalposts in the NFL are at the back.
Yeah.
The CFL's at the front, but also the CFL's wider.
Yeah.
So there was that, and it was... but the NFL's had some other... They had that Hall of Fame game where paint was an issue or something.
Yeah, they used the wrong paint.
Yeah.
It froze or something like that. Created trip hazards. They couldn't play the game. Yeah, they've really effed up a lot of that stuff. But no, the NFL... It's sad when Toronto people are like, CFL sucks. Like, well, you have a team that's fun to watch, probably very affordable, and you're never getting an NFL team.
Too many other teams.
Pardon?
Too many other teams to worry about in Toronto.
Yeah, but there's also...
but
I want to say that about Edmonton, too, though, is that we get a lot of people that say the same thing. NFL matters more than the CFL, but it's... If you lose this Elks team, there's no football coming to Edmonton ever.
Do you like football?
There's no UFL coming here.
Yeah.
There's nothing else coming here.
Do you like cheering for a football team from your city?
And you just lose another sporting event in the summer to go to. The 9 times a year to go have some fun. And that's
lost.
Right? Soccer's lost.
Yeah.
I stand by.
Lacrosse was lost.
We're at a point where, if the CBL's in a good position and the Riverhawks are in a good position, but if those ever go, I don't know if there's another crack at the can for Edmonton anymore. This is kind of what it is. And as much as people could love the NFL, and I love the NFL, love watching it, would love to go to more games. I also just love football in general. It's a fun time to be at Commonwealth Stadium. But if the Elks go away, if the CFL goes away, it's not like the NFL is going to be like, There's 5-6 markets we could all of a sudden go to. Not a chance. Not a chance in hell. And the UFL, I'm just still going to be skeptical of the UFL overall.
Same.
The future of it. But they would maybe look, if there was no CFL, they'd look at Vancouver, they'd look at Toronto, they'd look at Montreal. I think that's about it. I don't think they would come anywhere else in Canada.
Toronto,
because they want that sexiness for the U.S. market.
Yeah.
Coming to Saskatchewan, coming to Edmonton's not sexy.
No. Or Calgary.
I didn't even need to throw them in there because who cares?
No need.
It's Calgary.
By the way, speaking of Calgary, I saw this travel video pop up on YouTube, and he did a thing on like traveling to Calgary, and the first sentence of, if you're headed to other destinations, Calgary's a great spot to stop for a day. And I laughed. I was like, the only reason you go to Calgary is to go somewhere else. Well said, Matthew. You and
just
DVD.
To leave.
Yeah.
You just to leave.
Yeah.
How bad is it with the Elks? I'm going to be on Winnipeg Sports Talk with Huss today.
Good.
I'm going to be on Jamie and I out in Regina today as well. So a lot of attention being drawn to the Edmonton Elks after their loss.
A lot of complaints for good reason.
Up next, it is the Lock Shop, Huss, Dusty at noon. It is Oil Stream with Dusty and Tommy here on Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Thanks for sitting in and watching as Dusty and I and Tommy had our chat at that one point.
Yeah, you're welcome, guys. Yeah.
Sorry.
But,
Go team.
Good job at tailgate yesterday.
You were
Thank
great.
you, yeah.
You and Trev, seeing the pictures and stuff. Looks like you guys were having a great time. And then I saw you guys from the press box, sent you guys a picture. I love the little picture tag we all had. Because then Belsey sent a picture of you guys. Then you guys sent a picture of Dusty in the booth. Yes. And we just had a bunch of pictures from all across the stadium being sent. So it was a great little group chat there. Thanks for tuning in to the EST Hangout. Presented by Two Hoots Hard Iced Tea on behalf of Tommy, Zach, I'm Matt. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And up next, it is the Lock Shop, so don't go anywhere. You're listening to Edmonton Sports Talk, your clear choice for sports.
Let's go. There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Zola with here. Joining us today